Today we're predicting every NBA All-Star in 2026, but is with a twist. You see, this year the rules are completely different. It's Team USA versus Team World, and we finally have the format to predict it. Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I feel like this is going to be a great episode. There's a lot to talk about. And with the new All-Star game format, we have a little Team USA versus World action. And there are a lot of talented players going to be snubbed off that Team USA list. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, I know we're going to have some disagreements over that. Today, obviously, like Joel said, we're predicting every NBA All-Star in 2026. But first, we're starting the show with fill in the blank where I say an NBA related phrase and Joel completes that sentence. Joel, the first one up is the player under the most pressure this season is blank.
I'm going to go with Luka Doncic. He's coming off a year where he got traded. He has a lot to prove to Nico Harrison and to anybody that's doubting his ability to be the best player on the championship team. And there's a lot of pressure with that extension that the Lakers gave him. He needs to prove it. And you have a peer of his that recently passed him up in an accolade standpoint in SGA, who won an MVP, something that Luka has yet to do, who won an NBA championship and finals MVP. 4 years ago, if I would have told you that Shea wins an MVP and a championship before Luka, you would have thought I was crazy. But that is the reality that we live in. So there's pressure for Luka, not only to perform with the Lakers, but to catch up to Shea and to accomplish what he just accomplished.
Absolutely. I agree with you. It's Luka Doncic. Just to have two other names thrown in there, Donovan Mitchell is a guy I was thinking about as well. His team got punked in the second round. No other way to say it. Obviously, the Pacers went on to the NBA Finals, but that was a massive, massive disappointment in the East for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He has had a million great playoff performances, but as far as team success, he just hasn't had it, and he's going to have his another best shot here this season. Kevin Durant's a guy who's now thrust back into this spotlight of being the best player on a team with expectations. This has not happened since the Brooklyn Nets days. Yes, we thought the Suns were going to be good, but we never had them as a top 3 seed in this Western Conference. So he has to, lead these young cats and prove that trade was worth making for Houston. Back to the Luka thing, though. The Ringer compared kind of this Lakers roster and the situation that's going on this year to a Ferrari locked in its own garage, and I completely agree, because this roster we've talked about, it's full of Band-Aids, bro, and you have an increasingly unlikely LeBron James, Austin Reeves, who is playing for a contract and will either be too expensive or too much of a defensive liability to bring back, the following season. You have a 31-year-old Marcus Smart who looks a lot closer to 40 than to 30 due to all those assortment of injuries. DeAndre Ayton, who has had 2 teams quit on him now. Jake LaRavia, who has played literally 0 playoff minutes despite being on a playoff team in 2 of the last 3 seasons. But somehow all this pressure is falling on Luka for a multitude of reasons. He's the one who has to average a 30-point triple-double for this team to stay afloat this year. He's the one who has to stay in shape after going on this world tour for dieting. He's the one who has to fill Kareem's shoes, who has to fill Magic's shoes, who has to fill Kobe's shoes, and now LeBron's shoes while he's on the same team as LeBron James. That's why he's under the most pressure this season. I could not agree with you more. The second fill in the blank is about the most slept on rookie in this year's class. Who is it, Joel?
I'm going with Jace Richardson from the Orlando Magic. They made a point guard signing in free agency with Tyus Jones, but I don't think Tyus Jones is that much of a needle mover. He makes sound decisions and doesn't turn the ball over, but that's in large part because he's not aggressive on offense. He's not attacking the basket. He is not bringing defenders to him. He's not collapsing the defense. He's more so somebody that's a stationary player that's just kicking out and passing. And I think Jace Richardson has a real chance to be a scoring punch for the Magic off the bench. He's an undersized scoring guard, 6'1", but he's a really good finisher. He's athletic, and he can shoot the ball really well. We saw that the Magic traded Cole Anthony to the Grizzlies, and then the Grizzlies bought him out, and now Cole Anthony's on the Bucks. That now frees up a spot in the rotation for maybe a guard to come in and play some meaningful minutes, and I think Jace Richardson could be that.
Yeah, the opportunity is definitely going to be there. You have a top-heavy roster who is star-studded, but that role definitely needs to be filled in Orlando. My guy, no surprise, was Cedric Coward. He fits the exact hole the Grizzlies have, and Memphis has tried to fill this role multiple times, mostly for like the last half decade. They drafted guys like Zaire Williams, David Roddy, Jake LaRavia. None of them have worked, and I will say on the other end of things, none of them have had the physicals that Cedric Coward has. None of them were offered, seven figures to stay in college and go to Duke instead of going to the NBA. Those are two things that I think can separate Ced from the other three failures that have been in Memphis. I think we'll see a big dose of him early, especially if Jaren Jackson's not ready to go right off rip. And excited to see what Cedric Coward does in his first few days. The next fill in the blank, Joel, is the team most likely to disappoint in 2026 is blank.
I have two teams here. One is a bit obvious. It's the Sixers, but I want to go outside of the obvious with this one.
Mm,
I'm going with the Houston Rockets.
wow.
I think they are most likely to disappoint because I feel like Kevin Durant's teams have been most likely to disappoint over the past couple of seasons. I know the Nets tenure wasn't his fault. I know the Suns tenure wasn't his fault, but nonetheless, he has been a part of teams that have collapsed, like the Nets trading away their stars, like the Suns becoming a laughing stock after they make the Kevin Durant trade, and there's also a plethora of moves that come after that. It often is due to mismanagement, and I do trust the Rockets management more than those other organizations. But when they made the move for Kevin Durant, the goal was to make a deep playoff run. The goal was to maybe make the NBA Finals. You don't get Kevin Durant to just be a first round exit. There are real expectations behind the Rockets, and there's a lot of pressure on Alperen Şengün to get better, on Amen Thompson to get better, on Kevin Durant to be a player that can lead a team into a deep playoff run post Golden State because he has not done that yet. And I know there's been a little bit of a Twitter beef going on with Kevin Durant saying that the Warriors needed him and Draymond Green saying that that is true. But Kevin Durant, had he never went to the Warriors, he would have not won a championship. A little bit of a jab thrown at him like you needed us too, because if not, you wouldn't have won. And I think they're both kind of correct because Kevin Durant, although he is one of the most talented players ever, I do doubt his ability to raise his game at the highest level when the competition is at an equal scale. Because with the Warriors, he did raise his game in the NBA Finals, but those teams were so much better than the Cavaliers that the margin for error was so wide. So I think Kevin Durant with the Rockets, this is going to be one of his last chances to prove that he can lead a team to a championship that's not Golden State.
Would a second round playoff exit be a disappointment for Houston in your mind?
Yes.
Me too. I think it has to be conference finals or bust. I know that's crazy to say with a team as young as the Rockets, but not only the Kevin Durant trade, him, being added to that young core. You look at the odds and ends move, having the three different bigs they now have, all the re-signings that they made, bringing in Dorian Finney-Smith when no one expected for them to make that move. I think it's conference finals for bust for the Houston Rockets. It's a great one. My team was different though. It's the Golden State Warriors. No one expects them to be a top three contender in the West like Houston, but they do expect a playoff berth, and I wouldn't be surprised if they missed out on that entirely. Everyone keeps quoting their record, after the All-Star break, after they got Jimmy Butler and how they beat Houston in 7 games. But objectively, this year's team is a lot different than last year's team. They don't have a big man on the roster outside of Quentin Post. You look at Jonathan Kuminga, and they don't have any type of trade value or even him on the roster right now. So they've lost 2 rotational pieces in Jonathan Kuminga, and you add Kevon Looney to that list on an already shallow roster that you have yet to replace those 2 guys too. So not to mention the combined age of Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler is 72 years old. They're paying them a combined $105 million. And if one of them goes down for just 3 weeks, I don't trust this team is going to keep it afloat.
Combined age of 72 years old.
It's what it is.
No, it is. You're right about that. I think they're old and they're an injury away from not making the playoffs. I think that's fair. But if they're healthy, it's just hard for me to see them not make
Why?
it. Because
Why?
Because Steph
what starting
Curry,
caliber big do they have?
well, Steph Curry, number one, still one of the best players on the planet. That's number one. Jimmy Butler was awesome last year for the Warriors. And yes, you're right. There is no starting caliber big, but that was the case last year. Kevon Looney didn't play that big of a role on his team to where I feel like he is the difference between them having zero bigs on the roster. Quentin Post was fine last year, and I think if he continues to develop, that's actually not a bad player for what they run.
I'm not going to sit here and argue Kuminga wasn't a massive piece on this team, but whenever Stephen Curry or Jimmy Butler got hurt, he turned into that in the Minnesota Timberwolves series. Now, if he's not there or he's a malcontent, if one of those guys, I'm telling you, with the age, go down for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, they will not be able to keep afloat, especially in a Western Conference where you have 10 to 12 teams that can objectively make the playoffs. That is what you're talking about in this Western Conference, and why I wouldn't be surprised if they miss the playoffs entirely.
No, I get it. I think it's just the West is stacked. I think that's the point that I'm getting to is that
For sure.
I think they're just deep. If this was the East, I really don't have any questions about Golden
neither.
State.
Me neither. All right, final fill in the blank. The best young core outside of Oklahoma City is blank.
I was thinking way too hard on this, and then once I found the team, I said, "Yeah, it's them. It's San Antonio Spurs. I mean, it's Victor Wembanyama, Dylan Harper, it's Carter Bryant, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan. Like they have a deep, talented young core, and that's just the players on the roster now. They have picks in the future as well to add to this young core. So I don't see another young core." One featuring a player with Wemby's ceiling on it, and then you can even argue Dylan Harper's ceiling. So I'm going with the Spurs pretty easily.
Dylan Harper hasn't played a game yet, so let's calm down on that.
And he's going to be a great player.
We'll see. We thought Scoot Henderson was going to be a fantastic player. He just had a slower start to his career. We'll see. I reluctantly put the Spurs on here as well. Other teams I wrote down: Rockets, Magic, Pistons. I just don't understand, and this is not me hating, I just don't understand why everyone is crowning San Antonio so fast. Can I just see something close to a winning season before they are automatically a playoff team? That's all I'm asking.
It's a projection. I think people understand that the Spurs aren't a normal situation. They have a generational talent. And sometimes when you see a generational talent on a roster, you jump the gun a little bit like I did with Anthony Edwards a couple years ago when I said he'd lead the Timberwolves to the playoffs, and he did. And they lost in the first round to the Memphis Grizzlies. But
they made the playoffs, Joel.
Yes. Ever since then, it's been up from there. Victor Wembanyama, I think, is good enough to lead them to the playoffs. And now he has help. I know everybody has knocked the De'Aaron Fox thing, the deal that they gave him, but what is the alternative? You just letting rookies develop versus adding in a real all-star already next to Victor Wembanyama. And I didn't even mention Stephon Castle, who's the reigning rookie of the year. They have a lot of talent, and if some of those guys take that next step in their game, I mean, yeah, I think the Spurs, this hype is deserved. I don't think that this is false hype. I don't think that they shouldn't be getting hyped. I don't think they're overrated. I don't think they're overhyped. I think they deserve this type of recognition.
It's not, I'm not trying to undermine Wemby's hype. I'm all in on that. I'm talking about the team. And you asked what the alternative was on the Fox situation. The alternative's not giving him $200 million. I look at the rest of the league. Who else in the league makes that deal? And whenever I'm negotiating deals, whenever you're negotiating deals, the number one thing we look for is leverage. And De'Aaron Fox didn't have any of it and still got what he wanted. That's the alternative, getting a movable contract in case it didn't work out. I'm not, sitting here talking about he needs to make Austin Reeves $80 million money, but you could decrease it to 175, 150. You could get him down a little bit. That's why it got killed, not because, you need to cut ties with them and let the rookies play.
I don't feel like he would have accepted a contract like that. And I think that the Spurs were smart in what they did because you don't want this to linger on. If De'Aaron Fox does not get paid throughout the entire season, it becomes a storyline. De'Aaron Fox frustrated about his contract. De'Aaron Fox is eyeing free agency. De'Aaron Fox is this. De'Aaron Fox wants out of San Antonio potentially. De'Aaron Fox is confused as to why the Spurs traded for him and didn't want to pay him. And especially with him being represented by Clutch Sports, you already know the type of PR debacle that's going to be. So paying him removed a potential huge distraction.
If I'm San Antonio, I'm not worried about De'Aaron Fox. I'm worried about Victor Wembanyama. I'm worried about his future. I'm worried about the next decade of that because in a decade, De'Aaron Fox is going to be close to 40.
Being worried about Victor Wembanyama is being worried about De'Aaron Fox, because in order to maximize Victor Wembanyama now, you need an all-star level player, and that's De'Aaron Fox next to him.
Why wouldn't De'Aaron Fox take that deal? Why would he not take that deal? You're talking about Rich Paul, a guy who literally got Brandon Ingram traded because he knew no money is in free agency anymore. There's no bread there. Nobody would have given it to him. And he knew that about Brandon Ingram, got him traded to the Raptors. But with De'Aaron Fox, I don't envision a team wanting to give him $200 million outside of San Antonio.
Next offseason, there's going to be more money to spend in free agency. All I'm saying is that the Spurs, they were smart in paying him early. The cap is going up. This is not going to be a deal that's going to hinder them. All their players are on rookie deals, and years down the line, when De'Aaron Fox's contract is close to expiring, that's when they have to pay their current players. It's not going to affect either timeline at all. You know, they're going to be able to get out of the De'Aaron Fox stuff in a couple of years, and that's when they have to pay their players if they do develop into really good players. So I think this is a win-win. I don't think this is a bad situation at all.
A couple of years is a stretch when we're talking about 4 additional years through the 2030 NBA season. I think that's pretty hindering.
Fox isn't signed through, is it 2030?
Yes, it's a 4-year, $229 million max contract extension that will secure his future with the team through the 2029-2030 NBA season.
Okay, so that's about 4 seasons from now. That's 4 seasons later. Dylan Harper's on a rookie deal, which means that he'll still be signed, if not up for contract around that time. Stephon Castle will be up for contract a year earlier than that time. I don't see how this is hindering them at all.
Joel, it's 5 years from now because that doesn't kick in until the following year. We're talking about 5 seasons from now.
When is he going to be a free agent?
At age 32 in 2029, he is going to be making $61.5 million.
When is he going to be a free agent? What offseason?
2030-31. He is an unrestricted free agent.
Okay, I think that's fine. I think that's around the time where these other contracts for the Spurs are going to be up. And they're still going to have leeway to make some more moves. What if the Spurs surprise everybody and they trade for Trae Murphy, and you have De'Aaron Fox and Trae Murphy and Wemby? I mean, these moves can happen now. They are closer.
Where does Dylan Harper fit into this? Where?
Dylan Harper fits in long term to this. That's where he fits in.
Where does Stephon Castle fit into this? Where?
Stephon Castle fits in by getting better and improving his 3-point shot and his ability to be a point of attack defender and be a valuable role player to this team. Dylan Harper was already on a podcast and he said James Harden was coming off the bench for his first couple of seasons. That's my comp. He said he's already embraced the Manu Ginobili, James Harden type of role. I don't know why everybody else has a problem with it when Dylan Harper doesn't even got a problem with it.
Joel, I don't have a problem with them signing De'Aaron Fox, but him making this first year of the contract, he's going to be 29 years old. And 32 making $61.5 million is unfathomable for a guy like De'Aaron Fox to me.
I think it's fine for the Spurs. I think it's fine. They don't have anybody else that can play at his type of level on
That's
the
a
roster.
projected 32% of the cap in 2029 and 30. What is that? It's a bad deal. That is bad business, and you cannot argue that.
No, I don't think it's bad business. I think it's bad business not adding talent around Wembanyama. I think that's bad business. Sometimes you got to pay. Who else are the Spurs paying on the roster to where they can't pay De'Aaron Fox?
Who else is paying De'Aaron Fox? He had no leverage, bro.
No,
he had
answer
no
me
leverage.
This. Who else are the Spurs paying on their roster to where they can't pay De'Aaron Fox? To where it's such a hindrance? Who else are they paying? They're paying nobody else.
They're going to be paying nobody else for the next 5 years, and that is the problem. I'm just saying 32% of the cap. Could we have made that like 22?
Do free agents even go to San Antonio? No, they don't.
Free agency's dead. De'Aaron Fox, nobody is giving him $229 million next summer. I would bet my life on that.
So you are lower on the Spurs because of De'Aaron Fox's deal?
Yes. Over the next few years, yes.
I'm not. I think this is great for them.
No matter what team Wemby is on, they're going to be a playoff contender, but I'm talking about ultimate championship success. You know, like we're talking about with an Oklahoma City Thunder team, it will hinder them over the next 5 years.
We saw De'Aaron Fox in the playoffs average 29.
Did he lose that series?
He lost, but he played amazing.
He played great.
He lost in 7 games.
Yeah.
and he was amazing. He was otherworldly. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of nitpicking for the Spurs when they're not paying nobody. The outside of Fox, the highest valued
Luke
contract is
Cornett
Devin
got a
Vassell.
Luke Cornett got to overpay as well. They're
He got
just
10 million per
fucking, who cares?
year.
Yep. Luke Cornett, you get paid. How
10
much? We don't
million
give a
per
fuck.
year?
You got no leverage either.
Oh no, that's nothing. That's nothing. Come on, let's get into these buy or sells.
Okay, all right, let's get to these buy or sells. Not expected to Spurs argument right off rip. Buy or sell this, Joel. Luka will win a championship in the next 3 years.
I'm buying. I know the roster doesn't look good right now. You're used specifically a phrase of just, they're just trying to glue pieces together. There was a point in time where Kobe Bryant dealt with a similar issue when Shaq left the Lakers. And the Lakers rosters were terrible. Then out of nowhere, a Pau Gasol came. A trade was made that was criticized because the Lakers gave up Kwame Brown in the second round pick that ended up becoming Marc Gasol. Greg Popovich even came out and said, this is embarrassing for the league because this is clearly not acceptable. We need to come up with a committee to veto trades because this trade is stupid.
You're such a
The,
historian.
the Lakers find ways to get stars. Kobe Bryant got his Pau Gasol. LeBron James got his Anthony Davis. Luka Doncic is going to get his co-star. Maybe it's Giannis. Maybe the trade that everybody's waiting for Giannis isn't with the Spurs, with OKC, with Houston. Maybe it's with the Lakers because that's what the Lakers do. They bring in stars, baby, and that's what they can do for Luka.
As much as I want to ask you what vitamins you've been taking or smoking, I have to agree with you. I buy this. It absolutely won't be this year. I think we can agree on that. But once LeBron's money falls off the books, and they potentially move on from AR-15, I'm really excited to see what they will build around Luka. They do have cap space next summer. Free agency, there may not be a lot of options there, but at least they have the flexibility that they don't have to pay a 40-something-year-old $52 million per year. They don't have to go all in on Austin Reeves, who, is a secondary or third star who cannot defend. You need a secondary or third star next to Luka that can defend. Yes, it worked out with Kyrie Irving, but the only reason that works is because at every other position, they were pluses on the defensive end of things. So I 100% agree. Within the next 3 years, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Luka Doncic can win a championship. Next, buy or sell. It's about the other team in Los Angeles. Buy or sell this. The Clippers' title window ended the moment they traded for James Harden.
This is insanely disrespectful, and I really don't expect nothing more from you. But this is disrespectful to even suggest that Harden is the reason why their title window closed. He played a good first round series, and everything has been made about Harden no showing. But nothing has been made about Kawhi Leonard only having one elite, amazing game in that series. For some reason, Harden has always been the scapegoat wherever he's went.
For some
And
reason.
I actually think that, of course, I'm selling this idea that the title window ended the moment Harden got traded to the Clippers. I actually think that the title window opened back up when Harden got traded to the Clippers. That's what the reality of the situation is because they had Russell Westbrook starting at point guard, if you remember clearly, and they said we need to bring an upgrade, and they brought in James Harden, moving Russell Westbrook to the bench, and that gave some optimism for the Clippers. Maybe had they been healthy, things shape out differently. Their title window isn't wide open, and the reason why they don't go deep in the playoffs is because of injuries to their star guy in Kawhi Leonard. But the only reason why we're talking about the Clippers, the only reason why we talked about them last year, the only reason why they continue to be relevant is because James Harden got traded there. Let's make one thing clear.
Quick question. Russell Westbrook, the year he started for point guard before James Harden got there, when did they get eliminated?
First round.
Last year, if you could recall for me. When did they get eliminated?
First round against a better team.
Okay, yeah, that's a banner I want to hang up. So James Harden, yes, you're right. His teams are always relevant because of him. He's an all-time great. He's one of the best scorers to ever walk this earth. But whenever you talk about playoff or titles, James Harden is historically not in those conversations. I'm not saying this is all his fault, but the championship window has been over. You can argue it was over before he got there, which is a truth, but it's also been over since he got there. We've seen in the playoffs, we've seen this with him in the playoffs for decades. And now you look, the ceiling in this Western Conference, you look at the top three: OKC, Denver, Houston. I think those are pencil ins for pretty much every NBA fan. So their ceiling now with Harden on this roster, and as great of an offseason they had, I'm not going to sit here and argue they could not have had a better offseason. Their ceiling is the fourth best team in the West. That is what they are, and that is why I'm buying this.
I think you're disrespectful to James Harden. And I like I said, I don't think that their title window is closed. You see what they did this offseason. They did it this offseason because they know they got James Harden on the roster with Kawhi Leonard. That's why they did it. They don't go all in. They aren't aggressive if they don't think they see an opportunity, because they know Fear Beard is in town. And when teams come, they fear him.
You're right. It has nothing to do with a multi-billion-dollar arena they're trying to fill. It has nothing to do with that.
And how do they advertise that bad boy? James Harden, Kawhi Leonard.
100%.
Stars.
Team's always relevant. Title window's closed. Buy or sell? The NBA's next dynasty is already in OKC.
I think this is a buy. I think they're probably going to go back-to-back this year. This is the youngest team outside of the 70s Blazers, led by Bill Walton, to win an NBA championship. J-Dub's getting better. Shea continues to get better. Chet's getting better. They have everybody locked up. They have promising rookies and second-year, third-year players. Right behind everybody is depth pieces. I mean, this is obvious. This is like so obvious. This is record-setting type of roster construction. This is a team that can break the 2016 Warriors regular season wins record. This is a team that can run through everybody in the playoffs, including the Denver Nuggets. This is just that talented of a team. I think they are a dynasty.
Oh, gaslighting.
They will be a dynasty, I should say.
Gaslighting at its finest. I'm selling this. You think of the word dynasty, it doesn't go hand in hand with one title. One title does not equal a dynasty. They had multiple 7-game series last year that everybody forgets about, that ended with game 7s where the other team's star player was severely injured. You look at game 7 of the NBA Finals, Tyrese Halliburton tears his Achilles. You look at game 7 in Denver, Michael Porter Jr. can't lift his right shoulder. He can't lift his arm. And their other starter, Aaron Gordon, can barely run up and down the court. Those are 2 7-game series they had just last year in their one title. They were knocked out in the second round the year before that. So how are we talking about a team as a dynasty that has one NBA championship?
I think it's fair to nitpick the OKC Thunder. Last time I checked, the 2015 Warriors got nitpicked because they beat LeBron in the finals when Kyrie and Kevin Love were out, and it was used against them. So for me, I don't want to nitpick OKC. I want to talk about the great things they've done. Like, they are number one all time this past season in net rating in the regular season and the playoffs combined. At home, they were historically the best home playoff team in the history of the NBA. And sure, they might have been in some close calls. Their back might have been against the wall for a minute or two. But when the game mattered the most and the chips were on the line, they beat the brakes off of Denver, and they beat Indiana pretty comfortably too. You can argue about the Indiana series maybe swinging in a different direction if Halliburton plays the entire game. I think that is a good hypothetical, but overall, this is a team that now has more experience that is only going to continue to get better, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
So you have a beautiful personal studio now behind you. You're dumping money into a brand new one, and it's well-deserved. I can't wait to see how it finds out. But one decoration I would suggest to you is just to hang up a banner, and it's not a championship for your New York Jets or, your New York Knicks or whatever you want to do. It is a net rating banner for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because that is your favorite statistic ever to exist, and I can't wait to see that banner hanging up in your brand new studio. Secondly, your comp to the 2015 Golden State Warriors, nitpicking that title. I don't think anybody in 2015, a decade ago, was calling the Golden State Warriors a dynasty at the time. A dynasty is what word we're talking about in this buy or sell with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And one question you have not answered for me is, how can a dynasty be a team who has won one title?
Well, the buy or sell statement is the NBA is the next dynasty.
Okay,
And
that's
I
fair.
think OKC is the next dynasty.
We shall see. Next game. It's called Past or Future. I'm tossing out a scenario. We debate if it's still possible in the future, if it's time to leave that scenario in the past. First one up, Joel. Past or future, Zion Williamson is a franchise.
Future, future. Zion is a top 15 player when healthy. And there are certain teams that it doesn't make sense for them to take a gamble on Zion Williamson. Well established teams, teams that don't want to shake things up too much. For example, the New York Knicks. Let's keep our core. We don't need to bring in somebody that's so volatile into the
That
organization.
doesn't play. Yeah.
But a team like the Miami Heat that has Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, and Bam Adebayo as its best players, if it makes sense for them, let's say if they have to trade a lot of picks and maybe a rookie, maybe like Khalil Ware or something, a second year player with promise, why wouldn't they do it? I think they should do it. I think if it's a team like the Heat, a team stuck in no man's land, a team trying to find some way to become relevant and to have a true player to build around, they should do it because Zion, when he's healthy, is still one of the best players in the NBA. He is still a dominant force. He ranked top 10 in PER this past season, although on a losing team, he was very impactful. And there was a stretch where he was just completely dominant this year. So to me, I think he still can be a franchise player. And for some teams, it is very well worth the risk to take a gamble on him.
This is easily past for me. 2024 showed two things. Number one, he's not a top 15 player when he's fully healthy because he didn't sniff an All NBA appearance. Number two, he's not even a top 24 player when he's fully healthy because he didn't sniff an All Star appearance. He played 70 games 2 years ago, and neither
Top
one of those things
24?
happened. Neither one of those things happened. 24 players make the All Star team. He did not make it. 15 players make 3 All NBA teams. He did not make it. He played 70 games, and health cannot be an excuse for 2 years ago. Zion Williamson, at his peak and what people think he is a dominant player. Yes, we saw in his second year in the league what he can do. But the reason teams like the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat have not called the Pelicans to go get him is because they don't trust his health. So if you don't trust his health and you combine that fact with when he plays 70 games, he's not even an all-star snub or an all-NBA snub. It's a pretty easy decision that Zion Williamson as a franchise player is in the past and it's behind us.
Now, I just want to make sure that you actually believe this because you're telling me that Zion Williamson is not better than Darius Garland.
I'm telling you, in 2024, there were 24 All-Stars. Zion Williamson was not one of them.
Okay, do you think Tyler Hero is better than Zion Williamson?
I'm not sitting here to debate guy for guy. I'm just saying the peers, the coaches, the media, the people who vote on All-Stars, Zion was not in conversation to make that team. And that's not what I'm saying. It's not what I think. It doesn't matter what I think or who you think is better than anybody else. I'm saying that as a collective people who vote for awards, All NBA and All Star, Zion was not in the conversation for both. And that's not a theory, it's a fact.
The reason for that is because he played 30 games this past year. And
not the year before. I'm talking about 2 years ago when he played 70.
Okay, when he played 70, when he averaged 23, 6, and 5.
Yes,
he was talking about that year.
Yes,
where,
he was not voted.
Where he was not voted to be an all-star. Okay, and because of that, you're using that to judge your opinion on how good you think Zion is.
I'm not using it to judge my opinion. I'm just using it to relay that he is not a franchise player.
Okay, and you don't believe that when healthy, he is one of the 25 best players in the NBA.
I don't know what I believe. If we can sit here and play this game, we can. He may be top 20, but to me, a franchise player, there's only 10 to 13 of those guys. There's not 15. There's not 24. It's just not. And
I hope that he gets out of New Orleans because the disrespect is getting a little bit over the top with Zion.
We'll see. If he can't stay healthy and he's not voted into those two things, it's not much to talk about for me. Next past or future. Sick. All right, next pass for future. Trae Young makes another deep playoff run.
I can see it. It depends on what a deep playoff run is. Is it the conference finals floor?
Yes.
That's a little bit tougher. I think that the Hawks, they have a lot of injury concerns with Jalen Johnson and Porzingis and That's pretty much it, honestly. But it's just those two players. There's injury concerns with those two, and in order to make a deep playoff run, you need everybody healthy and on the same page. So I think that Trae Young is talented enough to do it. I mean, he did it once, so it's hard to say that he can't do it again with a better roster this time around. But I really need to see that efficiency kick up for him again. I need to see his 3-point shot fall at a better rate. I think when you are a small guard like that and you're not a good finisher, an efficient finisher around a basket, you need to have a great shot in your bag. And that needs to be the 3-point shot for him because it's going to be tough hitting mid-range shots with so much crowded space. Jalen Brunson does it all the time, but he's just very different. His offensive skills is just very different than Trae's. So I think Trae, his shooting needs to be his elite skill along with the passing. And I know that he got compared to Steve Nash a lot in the past when he was coming out. And I do think that that's a fair comp from a playmaking standpoint. But from an efficiency standpoint, there still is a lot left to be desired. But he is still a player that can erupt for 40 any given night and take over games. So that's why I would buy this. I think this is a future thing.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. In this East, I think anything's possible, despite Kristaps' health and all that stuff. I can look by a couple of those things just because of this conference as a whole. All right, final one, past or future. LaMelo Ball makes 3 All-NBA teams.
This means that he has to be one of the 15 best players in the NBA. He has to, his position is not, so it doesn't matter really about the positions, but I think at minimum, he has to be one of the 6 best guards in the league. That's including shooting guards as well. I'm going to buy this. I think LaMelo will have 3 All-NBA appearances before his career is over. If yes, I would take it. I think yes, LaMelo is that talented.
Yeah, you made the case for me. One of the 6 best guards for 3 different seasons while you have to stay healthy the entire season and meet that 65 game criteria. Yeah, I'm leaving this one in the past. 3 is just a lot of all NBA teams. You ready to get into these all-star predictions?
Let's get into it.
All right, we're going to start with Team USA. Actually, yeah, we'll start with Team USA. And I want to preface it by saying this. Joel and I were talking off air, and how we formatted it was this. We know from Adam Silver that there is a Team USA versus Team World format. What we did is we literally took the East and West format from last year and put it into this algorithm. So you have 2 guards, 3 forwards, and then on the bench, 2 guards, 3 forwards, and 2 wild cards. We did that for each. The way Team USA shakes out, because they have a deeper more depth in the NBA of United States-born players, there's a lot of guys left off that should not be left off. The world is very top-heavy. You can name guys, Shea, Luka, Giannis, Wemby, Jokic, starting 5, but once you get into the nitty-gritty of the bench, it doesn't have the same depth as USA. So you're having guys make the all-star team that, statistically, according to the back-end USA guys, should not be on the all-star team. So that will be a flaw in this system. We don't know if they're just converting it. We do not know yet. But with the old system combined with the Team USA versus Team World, we will find out. So whenever we're talking about snubs for Team USA, they're going to be a lot different than snubs for Team World. With that being said, who did you leave off of your Team USA before we get into the wild cards and the guys coming off the bench?
For Team USA, I left off Zion. I left off Jaylen Brown. I left off Kawhi Leonard. Didn't feel good about it, but I left him off. And I left off Paolo Banchero.
I left off Paolo Banchero. Kawhi Leonard as well. Did not feel good about it. James Harden, Chet Holmgren, and Trae Young. Let's get into your 2 back-end wild cards, and we'll get into that bench unit.
My 2 wild cards are Cade Cunningham and Devin Booker.
Got you. I got Cade Cunningham and Ja Morant. The reason let me
no bias at all.
There's no bias. I don't have a Grizzlies shirt on right now. I don't have a Grizzlies shirt on right now. But James Harden at 37 years old, don't think it's impossible for Ja Morant to have a better season than him, especially with the touches and the lesser team that I think he is on. Kawhi Leonard played 37 games last year, so that was a pretty easy decision. Chet Holmgren is a third option. I don't know if he has the same numbers that will get him a vote into a highlight film like Ja Morant and the fan boost that Ja will have there. Trae Young is the one that hurts the most, and how I knew that this format is going to keep, USA players out that should be in. I'm not going to argue that, Josh being over Trae or Trae should be in over Ja. That's the one that hurt the most, but that's my thought process behind Cade Cunningham and Ja Morant. Let's get into your second unit.
Okay, my second unit, I have Jalen Brunson at guard. I have Donovan Mitchell as his backcourt mate. Then at forward, I had J-Dub. And this is who I chose to pick over Kawhi Leonard. I think J-Dub is the modern day Kawhi. I think J-Dub is an elite all defensive caliber defender who can average 25 points a night. And we haven't seen since Kawhi this level of forward that can not only guard the perimeter, but is an elite help defender and is the best rim protecting 6'5" player in basketball. So J-Dub to me has a lot of the Kawhi qualities that made him so amazing. Evan Mobley's at forward. I picked him over Paolo because of the defense. I think I want somebody that can anchor the defense. And then my last reserve is Joel Embiid. And I know that on ESPN they have him as an international player, but he played for Team USA. So he's going to be my center.
There has been all of this soot and dirt and mulch thrown on his name by you, but he's going to make the All-Star team. I just want to make sure I heard that right.
Joel Embiid? Yes, of course. What dirt have I thrown on Joel Embiid?
His career's done. I think it's over for Joel Embiid. All of this dirt that you have thrown on him. You have said multiple times that his career is over.
They are objective truths based on his medicals and the injury history that he has. I don't think that Joel Embiid can play a full season anymore, but can he ramp up and play 30 to 40 games before the All-Star game and maybe get voted in? Yes, I do think so. I do think he can.
Well, last time I checked, you had to do that, and I thought you thought that he couldn't do it. I definitely think that Joel Embiid will not be at this year's All-Star game. It's not because of his talent.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I think that there's a chance that he's not because of his injury, but I can't base this on whether or not I think he's going to get hurt or not. If he is healthy, which I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt of being, then I think he will make the All-Star game. The other center options in the East are virtually non-existent. It's Bam Adebayo, unless I want another forward, which I don't want. So I'm going to go with him at center.
Okay. This is how I broke it down. Same guards. Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell. I do have J-Dub. I agree with what you said about how talented he is guarding the ball and scoring the basketball. But Joel, in Joel fashion, has to take it one step further. He's the this year's version of Kawhi Leonard. Yes. I have no argument that he may be that. I'm not going to sit here and say he is that right now. Kawhi Leonard was a guy who backpacked teams through the playoffs. I don't know if Jalen Williams is capable of that because he won't have the opportunity because he has Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on his team. I know he's not the best guy on his team, which Kawhi Leonard was throughout his career. But
throughout his career is wrong because his early Spurs years, he definitely was not the best player on his team. Okay. It was Tim Duncan. It was Tony Parker. I'm looking at Kawhi Leonard, and at age, which is the age that J-Dub is right now, at age 24, Kawhi averaged 21 points and 7 rebounds and 3 assists and won Defensive Player of the Year. That's how exceptional Kawhi Leonard was. Jalen Williams in his this past season, All-NBA team, All-Star appearance, defensive team, NBA champion. His age 23 season, J-Dub averaged 22, 5, and 5. Second team all defense, third NBA team, All-Star appearance. It took Kawhi Leonard until year 5 to make an All-Star game.
Okay.
J-Dub did it in year 3.
One thing we can agree on is he's on both of our Team USAs. We have Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Williams. Where we disagree is I have Jaylen Brown on here. When you think about how many Boston Celtics fans they are, you account that into fan voting. When you think about how Jason Tatum will not be playing basketball for the entire year. Somebody has to score those points. I don't think it's implausible that we look up and Jaylen Brown is averaging 33 points a game in December. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility. It may be far-fetched, but if Jaylen Brown is averaging over 25 points per game, which I think is not that crazy, then I have him as an all-star. My forward, it's not Joel Embiid. It is the reigning defensive player of the year. It is Evan Mobley. That is my final forward off the bench. So Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Williams, and Evan Mobley. A lot of Jalen's. What is your starting five?
So you think that Evan Mobley makes it over a healthy Embiid, or this is assuming Embiid's not going to be eligible to make it?
This is assuming what we have assumed for the past several years, that Joel Embiid will not be in uniform for All-Star Weekend festivity.
Okay. At guard for Team USA is Steph and Anthony Edwards. Forward is LeBron, KD, and AD.
I think we agree here. Curry, Ant, LeBron, KD, and AD. Correct?
Yes, that's valid.
Team USA, a lot of agreements. Was not expecting it. By the way, I do want to mention with the snubs, you mentioned Zion Williamson. I did not. I just wanted to have that thrown in there.
Well, you had Ja making it, so.
We'll see. Ja, I believe, has been on an All-NBA team before. Yikes. Let's get into team world here. First two wild cards, who are they? Or snubs. Snubs. Who are you, if you had any?
This was pretty easy. The snubs were Lauri Markkanen, Porzingis, and Zubats. The world team is pretty stacked with big men, European talent. So those were the players off my list for me. And at wild card, I had Sabonis and Cat. Cat plays for the DR, so he's technically international. Yep. He's world. So yes, I have Sabonis and Cat. I think those are just the two best guys at that spot.
I have those two guys in here as well. They're just being my second unit. I put Franz and Şengün as wild cards there. You can go ahead and get into that second unit.
The second unit, I have Jamal Murray at guard. I have Kyrie Irving at guard. Kyrie Irving is listed as international on ESPN, and
I don't think Kyrie's going to be playing.
He wants to play for Team Australia in 2028. So he's an international player.
I'm just saying, I don't think he's going to be playing basketball after his injury this year.
Yes, but he is the only guard I can think of to be in this spot. Fair. There is no other international guard unless you start digging into like the Josh Giddeys and the Dennis Schroeders of the world.
Andrew Nembhard was a guy I wrote down. I'm pretty sure he's Canadian.
Okay, Andrew Nembhard, I just think unless he really is a true MIP and he's averaging 16 to 18 a night, I just don't really see it from him. I don't see him.
I see both those things happening. He's the favorite to win MIP.
There's a lot of hype behind him, but I think that there's scorers that can take the reins in Indiana where he doesn't really have to score that many points per night. Like, I think Benedict Mathurin is going to take a bigger role this upcoming year. He averaged 17 last year. And if he takes a bigger role and gets better and starts, that could be over 20. And Siakam's going to average over 20. I just think Andrew Nembhard, especially in the regular season, is like very up and down. At forward, I had Franz Wagner. I like to think that there's at least one Magic that's going to represent the All-Star team, and it feels good it's going to be Franz. Pascal Siakam is my forward, and then Şengün is my center.
I didn't even catch that. That was a great pull from you. Yeah, I have Franz on my team as well, and Paolo Banchero, obviously, because the Team USA thing did not make it. For my guards, I got Jamal Murray and Andrew Nembhard. Nembhard averaged 10 points per game last year with Tyrese Halliburton out in another year under his belt. I think it's not that crazy. Nembhard averaged 16 to 18 points a game and wins Most Improved Player. Nothing against Ben Mathurin or any of his teammates. I think they both have to take a step for them to be competitive. My forwards, you're looking at Cat, Pascal Siakam, and Domantas Sabonis.
My starting lineup is pretty easy. You mentioned it earlier, Luka, Shea, Giannis, Wemby, Jokic. It's probably the easiest starting five here, and it's probably the starting five if they were representing Team USA.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's just a better, more talented unit. And they're all individually better than their counterparts.
That's what's going to make this game interesting. On paper, you look at Shea, Luka, Giannis, Wemby, and Jokic. That is, at first team All-NBA, regardless of nationality. So, yeah, Team World, very top-heavy, but it's going to make this interesting. I'm excited for this new format. They needed to try something. I'm not against them putting money on the line. I understand that the reason they don't try is because of all the money they have tied up in contracts. Some of these guys are in contract years, so I understand why they don't try. But you got people, or at least the players. You didn't get fans to care about the in-season tournament or NBA Cup, whatever you want to call it, but you got the players to care about it because of money. So I've seen that work there. I think that could work with the All-Star game, and let's just put money on it if the nationalities don't work either. But Joel, if you don't have anything to say on that, we can go ahead and wrap up, and appreciate you taking the time today, bro.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I think we covered everything.
Yes, sir. See you next week.